Okay, so let us go to group 2. This is Erin's work. Erin, I think this is much better. I like how we're using the numbering system a bit more accordingly, and we've simplified the type on the sides to make it look um, a little bit more considered, because it was a little bit hard to read on the sides. So that's something that's good. One thing that I am missing is a pull quote of sorts, and it can be anything that you feel about this recipe that you want the viewer to walk away from. So maybe something over here, or it could be off to the side somewhere, but let's try to include that in our next version. And then let's take a look at your connotative. I think this one looks good as it is. Again, I would also find a way to bring in a pull quote. Maybe one of these diagonals here can house your pull quote. And I think you would pretty much call this done. So that's just one thing we want to bring in is the title, the directions, ingredients list, and a pull quote. Okay. So this is Masoud's work and spicy tuna roll. So this looks good. We want to make sure that we bring in a pull quote of sorts, just so that we can add a little bit more typographic variety for your layout. And like to see maybe this white space filled out with a pull quote, or maybe the roll can go up and the pull quote can go down here somewhere. And then I like how you're aligning things to the left. Let's bring spicy more this way also, just to create some consistency. And then maybe I think you have some space here to play around with other pieces of text for your recipe. This looks nice. This was very clean, and I like how it's organized. So one thing that we do need to just establish is the fact that these are your directions, because right now, yes, we have the numbering system, but it would be nice to just, say directions here, or instructions, step 1, step 2. So if there's a way to identify that, that would be very clear to the viewer. And then your ingredients, we kind of see this is your ingredients list over here. So let's establish some kind of hierarchical system that tells us that. So spicy tuna is repeated a few times here, which I know you're trying to create a horizon line, which is fine. Again, let's try to include a pull quote. Maybe your pull quote is this line over here. All right. Let's move on to Gisela's work. So this is looking better, Gisela. Just careful with how close you're getting to the edges over here. And then also, it still looks like it's taking up a lot of space on each of the corners. So I personally would make this whole layout smaller, just so that we can see a little bit more white space around your layout, okay? Because right now it looks like every corner has type, and we want to break that up a little bit, okay? So just a few things to consider. And then the same thing goes for this area right here. It's getting too close to the edge. So you just want to be a little bit more careful and consider that little space over here that you're creating. So you might want to either make this smaller, or decrease the width of your column, and see how that works. Okay. And I'd also like to see a pull quote in here for both of those particular recipe variations. Okay. Let's move on to Fernando's work. So we're doing michelada over here. And again, I'm also going to reiterate, we need a pull quote somewhere. Same goes for, it looks like this is your pull quote here, the famous, well, no, I would say that's your title. So let's bring in a pull quote of sorts to hone this a little bit more clearly, and just add a little bit more typographic interest. So it can be in here, it could be in here. let's just kind of play around with that layout a little bit. And I'd also like to say, like, this layout seems very much like it's a little bit too much in the center, and again, very traditional recipe, which is what we're trying to stay away from. So see if there's a way to maybe bring your ingredients list up here, your directions down here, your pull quote here. So just kind of break this up a little bit. It's looking a little too stagnant and a little too much like a traditional recipe card, which is what we're trying to avoid. I like how you divided up the information here. It seems a lot more interesting, especially how you've created the space for larger letter forms. So just work on that more for your next version. Next we have Rebecca's work. Rebecca, this is looking a lot better, and it's a lot more clear as to how things read just when we change things to read up, right side up. This looks very nice, very clean. Careful with how small you're getting to the text. This is becoming very small to read. I wouldn't go past, let's see, honestly, I wouldn't go past the size right here, melted butter. And then, I mean, maybe you can go down here, but these three start to get a little too small to read. So cheesecake and on low speed and to 1 hour to 10 minutes, like those are just way too small. So let us just increase the size, or maybe radiate the type, maybe to alternate between different sizes, although I would still say it might look nicer to just keep it the same size as melted butter and just kind of keep it that way, just so that we can read everything, because this is a beautiful layout that you've created, and we want to make sure that, you know, we're able to read it and make the recipe, right? So that would be my feedback for you. Let's see what else. Just careful with how close you're getting to the edges over here. The number 1 to the saucepan and medium to sugar. Just be a little bit more considerable around the spacing with your shapes over here. And then try to just align things to a specific format of this triangle. And that way we can clearly read the list accordingly. So yeah, just create a little bit more space between this slice. Okay, so that is for your denotative. The connotative is looking better as well. I would just move these a little bit more up so it's not touching the type. And I think it's nice that we still have more space over here to read. I would bring this down a little more. I would align the ingredients baseline to the rest of your type. So ingredients to make the filling and to make the topping, let that align to the same line. I would bring down filling to match either to make the topping or ingredients baseline. All right, and careful with how close these are getting right here. I don't think you need that to be indented like that. So let's just be wary of that. This is kind of throwing me off a little bit. Like, I see that your text is on a specific angle, and this angle seems to be kind of different than the rest. So let's see if we can align this area right here, the pull quote and bake smooth garnish. Same alignment we're using for the type right here, just to create a little bit more consistency. Okay, and let's just bring those up a tad bit so those are not touching. So I hope this helps. Okay, so I believe that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then let's go to group 3.